Hello, this is Steven, and yes, we are back with once again another Batman 66 episode review, and today we'll be reviewing the episode Scat Darn Catwoman, the second part to this adventure, and without further ado, let's get into the review. When we last left off Batman, he was pretty much trapped in a giant mousetrap, and in order for his release, he has to agree to join Catwoman's gang. With that, we then get the opening credits and back. Batman then finally gives in to join Catwoman's gang, but of course he has to be put under the same drug that essentially Robin's under. But before he does, he asks to take a pill for his headache, and of course they agree. I've already found the way he got out of that, but I'll explain later. Anyway, with him taking the drug, he now acts as essentially as Catwoman's criminal accomplice. And with the help of Batman, Catwoman and her gang start a robbery crime spree that gets on Gordon's radar and orders essentially a kind of to kill order. Very drastic, but essentially with that, he sees no other choice. I can, but hey, it's Gordon. He's not exactly a great policeman. Well, at least he's a good person, but you get what I mean. We then cut to Catwoman with Batman at the old criminal's home where they visit Little Al, who was at one point one of Gotham's biggest gangsters. I kind of like how it's at the old folks' home. A lot of old school, essentially gangsters are there, which kind of explains, for me, Gotham's changing tide of, you know, with the super criminal whack jobs now really running Gotham's show, and the old traditional, essentially organized crimes are kind of gone. But that won't be true. Wait till next season. With that, Catwoman then gives the money to him, and he finally gets the plan. She gets the plans to the Mint. We then find, essentially, Pussycat back at the hideout. Essentially does another song, and it's a lovely song, and I like how it's clear that she's developing feelings for Robin. Robin then comes and tries to make a move on her, but just as that's happening, Commissioner Gordon, Chief O'Hara, and all his men are there when we find, and it turns out they were tipped off by some anonymous tip. They then go to the hideout and arrest, essentially, Robin and Pussycat and take her away. With that, the gang are forced to lay low for the next day until they can get, to pull off the job. Batman then gasses Catwoman and takes her to the Batcave, where we get the scene where Catwoman is in the Batcave. It's fun and a little romantic tension. Gordon, of course, are trying to find a way to, find Batman, and they try by tracing the bat phone. But Batman has an alarm put in that leads them to a false address where Gordon and Chief O'Hara essentially arrest the inventor from the previous episode, thinking he is Batman. I'm laughing my head off at that. I absolutely am. It's hilarious. Anyway, with that, Batman and Catwoman leave, but Batman leaves a mysterious note. Batman, Catwoman, and all the men are at the Mint and break in to plan to steal the money, where they're ambushed by Robin, who is no longer under the effects of her drug and is cured back to her old self, to his old self, I should say. And it's then revealed that Batman has also been on the charade. He's been using the same drug. He's using one of his bat antidote pills to help him get out from under Catwoman's spell that he took in the early bit of the episode. I didn't see that coming, and of course gave one to Robin. Catwoman then orders his men to fight him while she makes her escape. The gang are then knocked down, and Catwoman makes her escape by riding in the Batmobile. Batman and Robin pop in the police car and chase after her. However, thanks to Batman's gadgets, he's managed to control the Batmobile to cause it to slow down at a nearby, I'm guessing, warehouse on the dock. And this results in Batman chasing Catwoman, eventually leading Catwoman to the edge of the building on top of the rooftop, down below water. Realizing that she never wants to go back to prison, and there's this bit of a flirting bit where basically she promised to reform, but it ends in her usual way. When Batman asks what do we do about Robin, he says, well, we'll just kill him. Eventually, just as Catwoman is about to accept surrender, she ends up slipping and falling to, essentially, her death. Again, they are repeating Catwoman's supposed fall to death. and we can see Batman's a little bit emotional about it. We end the episode with Pussycat and the rest of the remaining gang getting arrested and sent back to prison. Gordon says that they searched the nearby river, but they haven't found one trace of Catwoman's body, but he doesn't see how a person could survive that fall. I can. Well, remember, she fell to her supposed buried death in season 1, and yet she managed to survive this. She could easily survive this. And I like how Batman ends the line with when Robin says, how she gave up her life to never go back to prison. And Batman says, one of her lives. And that's where we end the episode. We're tuning in next week for another 3-parter. What do I mean about that? Well, I'll talk about it at the end of the video. Okay, the main cast here is pretty normal here. We continue with Robin still under mind control and Batman trying to still save him, but we get a different bonus this time with him pretending to be a criminal and joining in on the criminal gang. I think that's very new. I don't think we've actually had him properly done that. We had him framed for being a criminal, yes, but we never seen him actually pretend to be one. Gordon and O'Hara, probably the most silliest policeman in all the land. Alfred gets to help in at the end here. It's all fun and enjoyable, but of course let's talk about Catwoman. Julie Newmar still owning the role here, and even though I like this performance, I really am. I've got to admit, one gripe I have, and it's nothing really on Julie Newmar's fault. It's more and so with the writing, how her supposed fall to her death. I could see how she could survive that. She survived far, far, far worse. She is still fun, of course, really well. And I still like the building on the chemistry between her and Batman. It's really fun. It's really enjoyable. I'm having a blast every minute of it. And Pussycat. I said this before. She should have gotten equal top billing to Julie Newmar. Lisa Gore was just as huge a star at the time. She should have gotten a bit more recognition. And I like how she's developing a crush on Robin. If her character... And sadly, the thing is, she's never going to come back. But if she did, I would have loved her to, because we could have had an interesting story, and she had just as equal top billing, and it'd be good for Catwoman to kind of have a little sidekick. The fact that she never came back, I feel a little bit cheated, but I understood why. But again, I wouldn't mind her to pop back for another episode. Scat That 9 Catwoman for me does manage to pick up from the other episode and continues it well, but I do have a gripe with its ending. And of course, with the Pussycat character should have gotten just as equal top billing. I still have gripes with that, but I can't deny I can't get enjoyment out of this Catwoman 2-parter. But it's also pretty sad to note that we'll soon be done with Julie Newmar's Catwoman, as she's only got one more 2-parter left of this season before we say goodbye to Julie Newmar for the 66 TV show. And there we have it, Scat That 9 Catwoman. So far, another great episode. Following the Joker's arguably the greatest 3-part of the series, we then come to this next episode in the series where we have yet another 3-parter with Penguin teaming up with Marsha, Queen of Diamonds. And to find more about that, tune in the next Steven hour, the same Steven time. Ladies and gentlemen, so long for now.